Well, welcome back everybody to our online program, and we're talking about drug talk in the media. And maybe too many people are spending too much time talking about drugs and addiction. And one of the things that I'm hearing quite a bit is that if we hear that somebody is using a drug such as heroin, then we jump to this conclusion, oh, that person must be addicted to it. We don't do this with alcohol, of course, and we don't typically do this with prescription drugs, but if we hear about someone taking ketamine or ecstasy or some kind of drug like that, we just jump to this conclusion, this person must be addicted because that's the only way a person would ever use those drugs. Well, interesting. That one really doesn't match up to the science. There's lots of empirical evidence that says non-addicts use lots of non-prescribed drugs. One of the most famous ones in the research, at least, is the work on rave dances. And we know that most people who go to rave dances are not addicts. They're not addicted to substances. And yet at the dance, they'll use ecstasy or crystal methamphetamine or some other drug. So they're using it the way a lot of people would just go out to the bar and drink alcohol for a night. So they're not addicted to it. We also know, for example, from if those old enough to remember this, the supermodel Kate Moss and those photographs that came out of her doing cocaine. Well, we know a lot of the supermodels use cocaine, for example, as a way to maintain their weight and as a way to keep working. And the same idea we now know from lots of research that a lot of students or, for example, professional truck drivers will use stimulants in order to keep awake. So for the students to study for exams, for the truck driver to complete the job. So lots of evidence that we have that people use these illegal, non-prescribed drugs and yet are not addicted to them. In fact, even in psychology, we have a word for it. We call it the instrumental use of drugs. But the public has this idea that, geez, if you use heroin or anything, God, this must be addicted because that's the only thing that makes sense. And this idea that drugs are somehow nasty and really terrible and versus alcohol, which, that's okay. It produces this interesting sort of excitement to life. Like one of my colleagues pointed out once that, if you remember the hoopla, say, over crystal meth, with that skull and crossbones poster saying meth is death. Now just substitute alcohol. Put a skull and crossbones and put alcohol is death. It wouldn't fly. Alcohol is far too boring. So there is this excitement that we also attach to the drug use that makes it alluring to talk about drugs, which is probably why Hollywood uses it too, to build up the dark side of life. Anyway, that's it for this episode, and we'll be back next time with another episode.